In a vibrant village nestled within a mythical land, surrounded by lush forests and clear rivers, lived a kind-hearted woman named Amara. She was known throughout the village for her generosity, wisdom, and the warmth she shared with everyone she met. Her laughter was as bright as the sun, her presence a comfort to those around her. Amara was married to a man named Suyini, a skilled craftsman admired for his talent. Together, they were the picture of happiness. However, not all was as it seemed. Amara's best friend, Zola, harbored a secret jealousy. She envied Amara's beauty, her wisdom, and most of all, her husband, Suyini. Zola's charm masked a deep-seated greed. She desired everything that belonged to Amara, especially Suyini, who she believed was wasted on someone so content with her simple, virtuous life. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the village, Zola and Suyini found themselves alone by the river. The villagers were busy with preparations for the upcoming harvest festival, leaving the two in a moment of stolen privacy. It was here, in the twilight, that Zola whispered sweet temptations to Suyini, weaving a web of deceit. "Imagine, Suyini," she murmured, "a life where we are together, where all of Amara's fortune and goodwill become ours. We could be the envy of the entire village." Suyini, whose ambitions had always reached beyond the village borders, was swayed by Zola's words. He had grown tired of the simplicity of his life with Amara, believing he deserved more wealth, more status, and more excitement. Blinded by his desires and Zola's charm, he agreed to a plan that would change all their lives forever. Together, they devised a scheme to rid themselves of Amara. A concoction was prepared from rare, poisonous herbs found deep in the forest, known only to a few. Zola, using her knowledge of local herbs, slipped the deadly brew into Amara's evening tea, feigning concern as Amara's health began to fail. The village mourned when Amara succumbed to what they believed was a sudden illness, her body laid to rest with tears and songs, unaware of the dark betrayal that had caused her demise. Amara awoke in a place between worlds, a misty realm where shadows danced, and whispers filled the air. She felt a cold chill down her spine, a feeling of weightlessness as she realized she had crossed into the afterlife. Her heart, however, still beat with the warmth of her love for her village and her husband. She did not understand why she was here, nor did she know what had happened. As she wandered through this strange liminal space, she encountered the spirits of the underworld, ancient, powerful beings who governed the realm between life and death. They stood before her, tall and imposing, with eyes that seemed to see through to the very core of her soul. Amara, one spirit, with a voice like a deep echo, spoke, "Your time among the living has been unjustly cut short." Another spirit, its form shimmering like smoke, added, "Your heart is pure, yet it is filled with rage and sorrow. You have been wronged." The spirits revealed the truth to Amara, showing her visions of her husband and Zola's betrayal, their secret meetings, and the poisonous brew that ended her life. Grief turned to fury, and she demanded justice. "Give me the chance to avenge this treachery," she pleaded, her voice breaking through the veil of death. "Let me return to the living and make them pay for what they have done." The spirits, intrigued by her passion and her desire for retribution, made her an offer. "We can grant you 10 years back in the world of the living to exact your revenge," they said. "But once those 10 years are over, you must serve us in the afterlife for eternity." Amara, driven by her thirst for vengeance and the sting of betrayal, agreed without hesitation. "I accept your terms," she declared. 10 years is all I need." Amara returned to the village as a mysterious stranger, her appearance altered just enough by the spirits that she was unrecognizable to those who knew her in life. Her once radiant smile was now a calculated mask, her eyes filled with a knowledge far beyond her years. She observed the village from the shadows, learning that her absence had quickly been filled by Zola, who now stood beside Suyini as his wife. With her newfound powers granted by the spirits, Amara began to influence events subtly. She whispered to the wind, spoke to the animals, and manipulated nature itself. Crops in Zola and Soini's fields withered and died, while strange illnesses befell their livestock. The village, once warm and welcoming, now turned cold and suspicious of Zola and Soini. Amara befriended a group of children, telling them stories of spirits and curses. The children, in their innocence, began to suspect Zola and Soini, believing them to be cursed. They whispered among themselves, their words spreading like wildfire through the village. One night, unable to sleep, Zola awoke to find herself alone in their darkened home. She heard a soft, eerie voice calling her name. Zola! Zola! The voice was faint but unmistakable, Amara's voice. Zola's heart raced as she followed the sound to the river where she and Soini had first conspired. There, on the water's edge, she saw a shadowy figure that looked like Amara, but when she blinked, it vanished. Zola ran back home, her mind reeling. She told Soini of her vision, but he dismissed it, saying it was only her guilty conscience playing tricks on her. However, the seed of fear had been planted, and Zola's paranoia grew. She could no longer sleep peacefully, haunted by the thought that Amara's spirit might be watching, waiting for revenge. Determined to end their string of bad luck, Zola convinced Soini to seek out a hidden treasure rumored to be deep within the forest, a treasure that could buy them protection from the spirits and secure their status once more. Amara, aware of their plan, decided to use their greed against them. She created false clues, leading them deeper into the forest, where no one dared to venture. The journey was treacherous. The forest, once familiar, now seemed alive with malice. Vines reached out like hands, and the trees whispered warnings. As they pressed on, Soini and Zola stumbled upon a series of traps, pitfalls, snares, and misleading paths that led them in circles. Each trap was more cunning than the last, designed to test their resolve and heighten their desperation. In their panic, Soini accused Zola of leading them into a trap, while Zola blamed Soini for their misfortune. Their trust, already fragile, shattered completely as they began to turn on each other, each one driven by their own fear and greed. The traps became more dangerous. One nearly claimed Soini's life when he stepped into a hidden snare that hoisted him into the air, his leg tangled in a rope. Zola, too terrified to help, left him hanging there until he managed to cut himself free. When he finally fell to the ground, he was bruised and battered, but his spirit was broken even more. As they stumbled back to the village, defeated and broken, the villagers, who had grown increasingly suspicious, gathered to confront them. Whispers had spread about their deceit and the cursed fortune that seemed to follow them. An elder stepped forward, his voice steady and firm. "You have brought shame and misfortune upon us," he said. "We have suffered because of your greed and deceit." Zola and Soini, desperate to save themselves, tried to deflect the blame onto each other. In their panic, they revealed the full extent of their betrayal, admitting to poisoning Amara and taking her life for their selfish desires. The villagers gasped in horror. The community, once warm and loving, turned cold as they realized the true nature of the pair they had once trusted. The elder, filled with righteous anger, declared that Zola and Soini would be exiled from the village, banished to live in the wilderness where they could harm no one else. But just as the sentence was about to be carried out, a violent storm approached. Dark clouds gathered overhead, and the wind howled with a voice that seemed to carry the spirit's anger. Lightning struck the ground near Zola and Kwame, igniting a fire that spread quickly through the village. Panic ensued as villagers tried to douse the flames and save their homes. Amara watched from the edge of the village, her heart torn. She had returned for vengeance, but as she saw the chaos unfold, she realized the true cost of her anger. The spirits, appearing beside her, spoke in unison. "This is your doing, Amara. Your desire for revenge has brought this upon the innocent as well as the guilty. Is this truly what you want?" Amara hesitated. She had been so focused on her pain and betrayal that she hadn't considered the wider consequences of her actions. She saw children crying, elders struggling to put out the flames, and families torn apart by fear. "No," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "This isn't what I wanted. I only wanted justice, not this." The spirits, sensing her change of heart, gave her one last choice. "You can end this now, Amara. Use your power to calm the storm and save the village. But remember, this will be your final act in the living world. Are you willing to sacrifice your revenge for the greater good?" Amara nodded, her decision made. "Yes," she said. "I will give up my vengeance to save them." With a deep breath, she stepped forward and raised her hands to the sky. She spoke words of peace and forgiveness, her voice carrying over the winds. The storm began to calm, the flames subsiding. The villagers, seeing the sudden change, looked up to see a faint, glowing figure of Amara in the distance. They fell silent, realizing the spirit of their beloved Amara had returned to protect them, not to harm them. As the storm dissipated, the spirit spoke once more. "Your choice has been made, Amara. You will come with us now, but you will do so with a heart unburdened by hate." They took her hand, and as they did, her form began to fade. She glanced back one last time at the village, her home, and then at Zola and Soyani, who were on their knees, weeping in the mud, fully exposed and broken. Amara felt a strange sense of peace. She had given up her chance at revenge but had found something greater. She had found forgiveness, not only for them but for herself. Zola and Soyani left the village, were shunned and exiled, their names spoken only in hushed tones as a warning to others. They were forced to live in the wilderness, constantly looking over their shoulders, haunted by the actions and the spirit of Amara they believed still watched over them. Their greed had led them to ruin, and now they were left with nothing but the consequences of their choices. In the afterlife, Amara found herself not bound to servitude, but instead offered a different role by the spirits. They had seen her capacity for forgiveness and offered her a place among them as a guide to other souls who sought revenge, helping them find peace instead. She accepted, finding fulfillment in helping others avoid the path she nearly took. The village remembered Amara's story as a powerful lesson about the dangers of greed, the pain of betrayal, and the redemptive power of forgiveness. Her tale was passed down through generations, a reminder that while the desire for revenge may be strong, the path to peace is found through understanding, compassion, and the courage to let go. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below.